shall.
Yes.
Yes.
Miniver Cheevy, child of scorn, grew lean while he assailed the seasons. He wept that he was ever born, and he had reasons. Miniver loved the days of old when swords were bright and steeds were prancing. The vision of a warrior bold would set him dancing. Miniver sighed for what was not, and dreamed and rested from his labors. He dreamed of Thebes and Camelot and Priam's neighbors. Miniver mourned the ripe renown that made so many a name so fragrant. He mourned romance, now on a town, and art, a vagrant. Miniver loved the Medici, albeit he'd never seen one. He would have sinned incessantly, could he have been one. Miniver cursed the commonplace and eyed a khaki suit with loathing. He missed the medieval grace of iron clothing. Miniver scorned the gold he sought, but sore annoyed was he without it. Miniver thought and thought and thought and thought about it. Miniver Cheevy, born too late, scratched his head and kept on thinking. Miniver coughed and called it fate and kept on drinking.
I love the way he sits, those short lines to
Yes,
end each.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it follows a very pronounced pattern, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's really rhythmic. I like the way it has a constant rhythm to it. Wonderful.
What was that line he missed about the armor?
Miniver cursed the commonplace and eyed a khaki suit with loathing. He missed the medieval grace of iron clothing.
I like that. Medieval grace.
Must have been really awkward to get around in.
Oh, my.
And you know, I've often wondered when the Crusaders went to the Holy Land and they're out in 110-degree heat in those iron suits, how they didn't get fried.
Probably a lot of them did.
Yeah, most of them probably did.
Well, it's got an A-B rhyme pattern that makes it all hang together, and each stanza is precisely the same number of syllables in each line.
Yeah.
It's really
It's-
very artful.
Well done, really well done. Rhythmic.
Well, and Richard Cory is a different form, but his forms are very well crafted. That's one thing that I
Carried them along very well.
Richard Cory.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think it was a Beatles song, wasn't it, that had Richard Cory in it? I think it was. But anyway, this Richard Cory. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman sold to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. He was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked. But still, he fluttered pulses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. So obviously, wealth isn't everything.
If I were to ask a question, would this poem be the second part of the first poem?
About Miniver Cheevy?
Yes.
The opposite of, yes.
Miniver Cheevy, child of scorn, he was a scorner. He was not a bastard, he was a scorner. He scorned everything. Richard Cory, who was richer than a king, scorned. And it got to the point where he could no longer tolerate his excellence.
It's all that glitter that got to him.
Very interesting.
It's-
I'd like to read more of his poems
Yeah.
because he seems like he's a rich mind to
Yeah.
Yeah, and
get into.
Well, these are the
No
two that
pun
seem to be
intended, right?
in all the
Famous ones,
anthologies.
yeah,
And
yeah. I've heard
certainly,
these before.
he was more of a poet than that. And these are just parts of American life, I think, is
Well,
why
I think
they
that's
select those.
true of a lot of his poetry, that it is about people. I think it's,
Yeah.
Didn't it say he won 3 Pulitzer Prizes?
I don't know that.
I don't know, I haven't read the
I think that's right.
I think
introduction.
he may well have, but he was renowned.
There is a lengthy introduction here.
I could show you.
Remember when he,
My old ancient American lit, volume 2 textbook has 10 or 12
yeah,
Wow,
Edward Arlington Robinson poems in
if I
it.
can find out.
who was the one that wrote tarred and feathered and carried in a cart by the women of Marblehead? I mean, that's a line from the poem, but, was that Robinson? I don't know. But somebody did something he shouldn't have done, and he was tarred and feathered and carried in a cart by the women of Marblehead. It's like an interesting picture. Tarring and feathering was not a nice thing to do to people.
Who ever thought of that first? Oh, never mind.
that's the question of the day.
Who would have thought that?
Was there a poem
Sure.
on the women of Marblehead?
That sounds familiar,
Yeah,
yeah.
that may be the title of it.
I think that's it. No, I think that's right.
Does that have index by title or by first line?
See, I'm not very familiar with
It's
it.
okay.
Dark in here.
No, it
That's
does
exactly
not,
what I
but
was
it just has the
It's like
list
we
of the
should
titles
try
in
to
the
sit
front.
under the lights.
And I was looking
Or
for
kind of
Women of Marblehead?
Marblehead, saw nothing of Marblehead.
I wonder what that means. I get these notes. I find notes among things. What is
I
that?
figured out what it was.
Which
The name that you read did not sound very English.
Miniver Cheevy?
There you go.
Oh,
Yes,
well,
that's what it was.
my computer doesn't like it.
Uh,
Every time I type it, it puts a little red line under it.
add it to your dictionary.
Well, I'm not gonna be typing Miniver Cheevy a whole lot. My computer
Sorry.
likes to put little red lines under things, because I do all this work with these international students, all kinds of words. Anyway, so who's gonna read?
You are.
You-
You've got the podium.
You got
So-
something to follow up there.
Well, that doesn't necessarily have anything at all to do with,
In the style of Winifred Cheevy? Sean,
and this was the prompt that we had with Andrea
Thank you.
changes.
aha,
So, changes. Yeah, I went through the usual changes, first day of school, riding the bus right there with the big kids. Middle school, moving from room to room, negotiating the halls. High school, everything changed, constantly, daily, maybe even hourly. Jobs, marriage, all that, it's life. But this is a change I'm not sure I'll survive. This marrying away of my shining girl, all her life I have been the important one, now he is. I've been her support, her protection, a bulwark between her and the world's hurts. How can I relinquish that? And she is so incandescently happy, I have to smile. I can't ruin her day for her, I can't weep, wail with their loss, but I'm not sure I'll manage that first dance with the bride without howling.
The father of the bride.
Yes.
What inspired this, Patricia?
My great niece's wedding in June, because of the circumstances of her parents' marriage had broken up, and she was so supportive of her father. And I think it was a wrench for him. You know, she'd been dating this guy since they were, I think, maybe freshmen in college, high school. And they'd gone through high school, and they went to separate colleges, went all the way through college, and, they had just been together all the time. And I think, I was just watching David, the father, and thinking, this has got to be difficult. You know, he's glad for her because he knows Eli and respects him and all that sort of thing, but still, it has to be hard to give up your girl and give up your role of being the support.
There is variation, however, on that. I would imagine some parents are only too happy to
Oh,
see
well, I'm sure.
God should
fellow bastard get out of here.
Never thought she'd leave the house.
Have you
Never
shown
back in
the
our
poem
court
to
again.
him?
Not yet, no.
It'd be nice to show it to him, see whether he agreed.
You do it very well.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get into that frame of mind. But I must say, when my wife and I married off our only daughter, I found it a beautiful occasion, but I didn't feel any great sadness because, and I guess it was spoiled because they both had jobs here in town and they weren't leaving for California or for China or something, so I never felt that kind of regret. But, and my daughter's remained a major part of my life, so it's not like I lost her.
Well, but Mackenzie stayed in Columbus, which is where her dad lives. And I don't know that he feels this way.
No, well,
It's like when I
it
wrote.
doesn't matter. It's a good point. It's just imagining that you could.
Yeah, right.
It's a perfectly plausible frame of mind. It's like, I don't like this. This guy's going to run away with my little girl.
Yeah, but in some cases, why it could be seen as this is the greatest happiness my little girl has ever achieved.
Well, yeah, I think he
This
was-
is wonderful.
I think he was happy for her because, as I say, Eli is, when this whole business with the marriage breaking up, it may have broken her relationship with her mother completely. I don't, it's not good. But anyway, Eli was there when she needed support. He was there to support her. So, I'm sure it's a good marriage, and I'm sure her father feels it's a good marriage, but it's like when I wrote the one about the traffic barrel. I just made up how that traffic barrel was going to feel.
You've never really interviewed one.
And I've never been one either.
Never been one either.
My life is a
I
traffic.
like it too. It's interesting. Which way are we going? Clockwise or
Let's go your way.
counterclockwise? We'll go my way? Oh my gosh.
No pictures this time. I always expect you to give me a picture.
I don't see any footnotes either.
What's your picture?
I really was off stride. Well, this is entitled Fall
Yeah, tiny.
because I expected to see brilliant leaves out the window.
Oh, yeah.
I see.
Instead of thunderstorms.
You go far enough north.
Did you hear that thunder last night?
I did indeed, and
Yeah.
then the rain knocked down a lot of the leaves in my neighborhood. But anyway, this is entitled Fall. The steady turn of the seasons is nature's way of telling time. Trees are shaded red and gold. Dancing leaves drive to ground.
Drive?
Dancing leaves dive to ground. It's the ripening time of harvest, time to reap what's been sown. As leafy greens fade into yellow, the year's ticking clock is heard. Fall is so exquisite, but as I age, it brings to me a pang of dread, a bit like doomed days of Rome, which had its rise and certain fall. When this dark idea spooks me and I feel old and fear the cold, I'll vow to accept the fact serenely that I too will fall with the leaves. Keeping with the pessimistic theme.
Child of falling leaves.
I wanted to say fall among the leaves, but I was making the line too long, so I didn't.
Or you could take out the two. I vow to accept the fact serenely that
I will
I
fall.
will fall among the leaves.
Yeah, that would be better, yeah. But I didn't want to think I was going to do it today. Yeah, I'll take out two. Anyway, that's I always think of fall as both beautiful and really quite exquisite, and I like it. I know it's the harvest season, and I like pumpkins, and harvest time is a happy time. But it also has a sense of the turning of the
Yeah.
screw.
Oh, sure.
The end.
And that,
Beginning
things,
of
time
the
is a wasting.
I prefer spring.
I
Well, the
love-
life is
I
so
love-
short,
Yeah, life
all
is
those
short.
green leaves that give up, and they've only been there a short time. It seems shorter to me because I have sort of a Florida calendar in my mind where the leafy season is much longer, if not 100% in some cases. But anyway, it seems like spring just was here and now all those leaves are gone. What a waste.
They're doing their thing.
I
They
forgot
are doing
who
their thing.
wrote the poem. My father used to recite it to me all the time. It was, if I should live to be the last leaf on the tree, the last leaf to fall from the tree.
John Green Whittier.
I think it's Whittier. It could be Whittier, yeah.
Snoopy always had a thing about falling leaves.
Falling leaves,
Snoopy.
yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it's an interesting season to have. Your turn, Joy.
Oh,
You're on.
well,
Unless you were going to say something, I'm sorry.
There's the poem. The days are cold and dark and dreary, and it rains, and the wind is never weary. The leaves still, the vine still clings to the myrtle wall, but at every gust the dead leaves fall, and day is dark and dreary. Be still, sad heart, and cease repining. Behind each cloud is the sun still shining.
Oh, I wanted it to say silver lining.
Yours is the common fate of all. Into each life some rainbows fall. Some days must be dark and dreary. I'm not sure.
you got one? Everybody got one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which side are we starting with?
Today, this is what I'll think about.
Okay.
Today, this is what I'll think about. This morning I decided to ponder the reliability of birds finding food at my feeders. You see, we start in early morning. The doves are waiting in the oak trees with sunflower seeds and grains, tiny black thistle seeds for the goldfinches, a feast of food. I wonder then, do they rely on us, or are they opportunists, not usual at the feeders? How do we tell one chickadee from another anyway? If they are the same each day, then how deep is their dependency on us? Before noon, before I sit down to my lunch, I put a heap of stale bread or rice I've cooked, especially for the crows. I rap 3 times on the railing. Almost before I return to the house, the crows are there. They fill their beaks with chunks of food. Sometimes I count the number, 4, 5, 6, and they fly off into the trees. Do they depend on me? Tomorrow maybe I'll think about water, or maybe love.
Wow, yeah.
I've noticed that with the crows, because I put out chunk-style dog food, and they'll line the chunks up in their beak.
Yeah,
And then
oh,
they'll
they
try to
do.
They'll try to get one more, and then
Yeah, and they all fall out.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
and they
such
fly
clowns.
away, and the stuff is sticking out of their mouths in all directions.
Fun to watch.
Okay. Now, there's a little bit of,
It's a lot of fun. I love it.
Did you ever notice as you watch the crows, do the same ones come back?
That's my problem.
Either that or they're loaning one another their same suits.
I have a friend who has 3 crows that have come to her porch for 5 years.
Like,
And she identifies
you recognize that?
by one that has a twisted leg. Twisted foot.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's always with the other 2. She presumes that they're three alike. And they sit on her light lines and wait for her to come in the morning and stuff.
And she feeds them.
Yeah, and she's communicated with people at
Cornell?
Cornell,
Uh-huh.
and they said indeed that this has been observed of crows, that the same ones inhabit the same area, and
They come back.
and
Territorial.
I had no
depend
idea.
upon feeders.
Well, as I say, I put the stuff out, I rap on the railing 3 times. And
they're gone.
within a few minutes, there is at least 1 crow in the trees ready to step onto the feeder.
Amazing.
They do keep 1 young with them throughout the winter and to help in the following nesting season, just like blue jays do. Jays keep a young one around with them for a season.
They are there all winter, aren't they?
They are there all winter.
Some of them, anyway. Some may
I don't
be.
know if they're the same ones, but they respond to the same stimuli.
I think it's interesting that with a flock that they will have a sentinel or, you know.
Oh, yeah, they have scouts out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think every creature has scouts out.
Yeah, and I read about a study that they were doing with crows, that crows can and do recognize human faces. And with this place where they were doing the study, the man who used to climb up to the nest to mark band the babies or count the eggs or whatever he did, they recognized him, and it got to the point that it wasn't safe for him to go out of the building because the crows would attack him. So then he got one of those rubber masks, to cover the whole face, and so he wore that, and then he would take it off when he went outside to go to his car. But the crows recognized the mask, so just out of curiosity, the people, they put it on upside down, and they would watch the crows, and he'd walk outside, and the crows would go like, that's him.
Yeah.
They are extremely intelligent.
Very
Yeah.
powerful.
They not only identify people, they identify facial features of
Yeah.
people. Right.
Well, every year we have, our first hummingbird of the year is a male. And he will come at any time of day and flitter around outside the window until somebody notices him. Usually it's me. I'll go and get the feeder and make juice for him. And he lets me know he's there. They let me know they're there any way they can, which is just feed me. Anyway.
Well, one year I had my hummingbird feeder right outside the window from the dining room table. And I could recognize, they had 2 females that came, and I could recognize them because one had, they have light gray bellies, and one had a darker line that went from wing to wing, and the other one had like a big O on her stomach, and so, I could recognize them.
Yeah, great.
Well, anyway, the other one
Yes.
is called corners. Lately, I've been shoving things into corners, especially on one of my kitchen counters. It's beginning to bother me. Telephone numbers, pills I won't take, an empty pepper shaker, easily used napkins, stuff. If I ask for help, will you empathize or scorn me? It started in the fall when things began to pile up. It wasn't like hoarding. It was, why throw that away? I might need that number again. I'll remember to buy more pepper. Then it never stopped. The kitchen counter corners, the bathroom sink, unfolded clothes here and there, small bits of food in plastic boxes filling up the refrigerator. How far away is spring?
Spring cleaning.
Oh, that's good.
You've been visiting my place.
No, I'm looking at my kitchen counter and wondering what in heaven's name am I going to do with all that stuff?
Yeah, I go around through my house thinking, who dragged all that stuff in
Yeah,
there?
right. I gotta throw those napkins away.
It's so easy to do because
Oh.
it's incrementally, you put a stone here and a box there and a thing that's too good to throw away or something.
Yeah,
You don't
I
quite
could
know
use
where
that again.
What that is, but you'll find it later.
I think it breeds overnight. I think it breeds overnight.
That's possible.
You put two
I wrote this in the past when I was attending a poetry group at the French Art Colony back about 1982. And we were supposed to come up with a found poem, and we were supposed to come up with the theme, using the line, such are our braided lives. So, found poem. The folks in Cheshire, Ohio are mostly strangers as I drive slowly through their small, quiet village. But an old garage, a deserted house, and a boarded up bar, red writ letters blare along the main drag for all to see. Sonny Smith is bald. Who is Sonny Smith, and is he really bald? And who cared enough to take the time and risk to proclaim it to the world? Sonny Smith has a son 26, and yes, he really is bald. He wears a toupee every working day to his job at the energy plant. A tiff and someone got galled. It was somebody's wife, a dame, whatever, enough to defame Sonny Smith's name all up and down Route 7. My friend giggled. Folks don't like him much. I still drive through Cheshire, and I still drive through slowly. But now when I see Sonny's name, I nod as in greeting to red letters Sonny, roué in toupee, whom I never met and never will, and wouldn't know if I did. Such are our braided lives. Now, such are our braided lives that when I had a little blog, someone by the name of, I think it was Christy, contacted me on my blog and said she was Googling her grandfather, and the only mention she had of him was on my blog. His name was Sonny Smith. And she wrote the letter in order to tell me that although he was a ladies' man and was bald, that he was a great-grandfather, and she would like me at least to know it.
What a nice story.
Such are our braided
You
lives.
have a post note.
What did I do? Pass,
I think
I passed one.
you need
Must
one
have
more.
a stack of them, Nan. Do you have?
And you have a,
Oh,
Sorry.
oh,
it's okay.
Somewhere. There we go. Room for, we had even one left over.
all right. Time out of mind. We set our life clocks by the sun and the moon and march around the world with some purpose we have found. Do our footsteps drown out the musical murmurings that surround us? Our minds are made up, computed by family, church, and state, and some demand that others see their truths. It should be their truths. Yeah. Thus live and love by force. Oh, listen with the ears of a child to the wind that has no time. See with the eyes of a child beauty that has no end. And feel with the heart of a child joy that is not measured.
I really like the two lines, oh, listen with the ears of a child to the wind that has no time. I like that.
That's classic, that's a wonderful line.
I also like, do our footsteps drown out the musical murmurings that surround us?
That's very different from the kind of thing you usually write.
Is it?
And yeah, I think so. And I like it a lot. I like your other stuff too, but this is quite classical almost.
There's a possibility you could leave out the second verse.
Second verse.
Yeah,
Well, there's a possibility.
yeah. There's a possibility you could think about.
Why do you say that, though?
Second stanza?
The second verse, the second stanza, yeah.
Stanza.
Sorry, second stanza.
Think it says too much? Is that?
I think it's a little preachy, and without that, the poem relies more on nature, and
It's entirely positive.
yeah.
Interesting.
No. I just think so much of our minds have been made up for us. You know,
Pre-made up.
Yeah.
We've been socialized, as
Yeah,
social scientists might say.
and we know that.
Okay.
So it's, the musical murmurings that surround us. Oh, listen with the ears of a child.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
The owl dwells in moonlit woods, and vagrant breezes caress him. He eyes the darkness from above and listens to the coyote.
Very nice, very nice.
Almost like a haiku.
Yeah.
Very Japanese sounding. Nice.
And they want the same prey.
Right.
Does that have a title?
No.
Or is it just going to be? Okay.
Very nice.
Can you suggest a title?
The owl.
The owl.
Oh, well. Okay.
Next.
I am going, I don't know if you all read the email or not, but, because I just sent it last night, but the time after Mary Ann, I have something that is almost finished.
Gee, Patricia, we've never had a member who didn't contribute. And you should have, it seemed to me, you should have been inspired by sitting in on all these sessions
I am.
to do
That's why
something
I
on your
wrote
own.
something. And I've explained that I was part of this group before it focused on poetry. And so for me,
No, because
it's-
this whole group formed around poetry.
Well, I was told,
It formed from,
Wow.
Felix and I were in a class run by.
So was Kathy and Ann,
Yeah,
too.
by
Wendy
Wendy
Mayer.
McVicker.
Well,
And I didn't
you
want to
know-
lose that,
yeah, that's okay.
Well, please break out of your silence and let us hear from you, okay?
And to the session after Mary Ann, you will. Okay?
We should wait, okay?
Mary Ann is next session.
Right.
With bated breath.
Okay, I hope it will be worth the wait. It definitely has been a very interesting experience for me.
But it's not been reciprocal, because we haven't had any.
So you know what, some people learn at different stages and at different speeds and different genres, and there's so many considerations. You have a flair, you are a poet, but for one to come and to hear the poetry, that has been so good for me. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. If I didn't, I wouldn't come back. Why would I take my time to come to a group if I wasn't enjoying it? Is that not participating?
It's
Tricia,
just that
that's
this
a good
group has
plug
never
for us.
operated
That's a
as
good
a
plug, that
performing
little
group
bit
for an
there.
audience.
I'll say it publicly.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I did not hear.
I have to
what you
add
said.
my 2 cents,
Okay.
and Sven and I have discussed it. This is an open forum. We meet in a public place under the aegis of a public institution. As far as I'm concerned, we can have 50 people who participate in this and never write a word in their lives. So, to me, you are very welcome.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I have, actually,
Sometimes reading it out loud to people who do the same thing as casually as I do it, it is sort of rewarding to me, and might well be to you, whether it's good or not. I mean, no one is going to write the poem of the 21st century in this group.
well, you never know.
We just bumble along, right? I mean, I feel
Yeah,
that.
and often the comments in the group thing around, and it comes up to be more than than you came with in the first place. It's sort of, I hadn't thought of going that way, or
Right.
that phrasing works well.
You can't be afraid of words.
Well, I'll show you. This is, I have it with me, I am not ready to read it, so I will not. But this is what I've been working on, okay? It is not a typical poem, and when I'm satisfied with it, which I have now placed a deadline on myself, saying that I will have it for the session after Mary Ann, okay?
And something for 2 weeks following that, too. Something brief.
You can also bring a poem of someone else's whom you
Yes.
like.
Yeah, one that you like.
Okay.
I don't think you should read what people are saying as people jumping on you and beating you up and giving you demerits, but I think what we're trying to say is that each of us brings to this group something different, our own personalities, who we are, and we're variety of levels of competency, and that's what makes it so delightful.
Different
And we welcome you as a new member, and we want to hear from you. We want you to mingle your background and your thoughts with the rest of ours. So, and that would be a boon for us.
Sure. More variety.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to you now.
So, I don't know.
We can share if you don't.
This is something that I did 6 years ago. And I intentionally brought it
You and
today.
I can share, Dave.
There's
Enough
no,
to go around?
This one.
There's plenty.
We need one more.
and
No, we're okay, we're good.
Oh,
We're good.
Okay.
6 years ago, goodness.
6 years ago, at the coronation of President Obama, and I read it for the first time in 6 years to myself, and I thought, well, I'm going to share this with the group to see if their perceptions of its relevance have changed. And welcome this world. America joined the world again in election 2008, and saw its people divided in twain in the land of the free and the home of the great. At issue, it seems, was a man named Obama, who frightened Beck Limbaugh of the Patriots' horn. They preferred a president from south of Oklahoma,
Alabama.
and charged that Obama had never been born.
Wait a minute, you said Oklahoma.
What?
You said, you read it Oklahoma.
It says Oklahoma.
I like Oklahoma.
With a Kenyan father and a Kansas-born mother, this KK beginning struck fear in the founders, who expressed their alarm, one after the other, with town hall disruptions, these democracy bounders. Torture of prisoners was brought to the fore, with the focus on future rather than yore. Change to believe in was once more delayed, and yes, we can do it was laid in the shade. America has tried this melting pot thing with a new brand of president from Harvard and from Hawaii and Harvard, and an old breed of honorable saviors whose security do sing. So welcome this world, we can play in your yard. But because I was thinking that the issues that were abounding then were common across the world. Racism, economic advantage, torture of prisoners,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, well, and you don't have to vote on it, but I was thinking, is this still true of the times? Is it still true 6 years or 7 years later?
Not so much.
Well, the world is probably in worse shape than it was 6 years ago. Although we are rid of the Bush influence and all that stuff.
I was and still remain an Obama supporter, but with much less enthusiasm than I had in the beginning, because,
Yes.
you know, he didn't close Guantanamo, he's leading us into another war. He's been spying on Americans, he's screwed up the Veterans Administration. I mean, he's got a lot of black marks on his report card.
Did he screw up the VA? Or was it
Not
screwed up
personally,
already?
but
and
he should have
didn't
acted
straighten it
more
out?
decisively.
Yeah.
I thought Shinseki was a kind of a token leader. He didn't really take over the.
It makes me wonder just how much power a president has in
Sure.
this country.
Well, I still, you know, goodness, I'm glad we didn't have Romney. But I must say, he's lost enormous support in Europe. He used to be one of the most popular Americans ever since JFK, and now there's Europeans are skeptical of him. He's lost a lot of the left wing of the Democratic Party, the liberal wing of the most liberal party, where I feel more comfortable. So I haven't abandoned him, but I'm disappointed in his performance.
What I felt, you know, after a year or two of him, that he has, I think, erred from the very beginning in talking about himself. He has never tried to make himself part of the Democratic Party. He has not brought the party along with us. It's issues, you know, in Obamacare, he has adopted that himself, which is unfortunate. But you see, time and time again, right now the Democrats are running to get away from him, to hide from him, but he should have made them part of him from the beginning, although that's a rough bunch to deal with. at least they were easier for him to deal with than the Republicans, who he tried to deal with, and they wouldn't deal with him at all.
I think we should always, maybe in looking back or looking forward, consider alternative actions possible in these situations, and the consequences of alternative actions as compared to reactions which have occurred in the Obama administration. And I know, I'm a child of the Roosevelt era, and I remember how Roosevelt was vilified.
Sure.
What his family went through to serve this country. And I gotta tell you, Obama is going through the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
For no reason other than the fact that he is where he is.
Yeah.
I have no excuse for him being powerless to close Guantanamo. But the Congress will not permit him to do this.
That's right, they passed laws.
So let's don't blame Obama
For everything.
for having good thoughts. Let's blame the Congress for not having good thoughts.
That's right.
Good point.
A question that I have, 6 or 7 years later,
5 years.
was the way that different groups and different spokespersons vilified him, questioning his father and his mother and all this crap.
Yeah.
And has that continued?
Oh, I think there are still
I think so.
birthers out there.
I think the situation would be very true today, because there are still people who don't think he was born.
Right, they say he's a Kenyan.
We haven't defeated Al-Qaeda, nor have we defeated ISIS, but we haven't even defeated the Ku Klux Klan in this country. You know?
Well, there's the old saying.
You don't
it's-
defeat ideas.
No, that's right, and that's another mistake, in trying to wage war against something that is absorbing every punch like a pillow, so it never has any impact.
But if
Turkeys. Oh, wonderful.
Turkeys?
1, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh, there's a whole
7.
bunch of them.
7, I think.
They're here are four.
it's been raining for some time.
Those are all females.
I was watching the...
How do you know?
The males are a little larger and have more.
Maybe he's
color.
Is that
nearby.
an extra large female, the closest one to us? Is it like a
I
female
hope they
with
don't
poults?
open their mouths and drown.
Is it one female and 6 poults?
Those are.
It might be that. It might be that.
Those look like poults.
But males also have red and pinkish
Yeah,
heads.
and they tend to
Wish I
move
had my
solitary.
binoculars. Wish I had my...
That's a wonderful sighting, Kathy.
Oh.
So that might be a mama and the kids.
Man, we need to be brought back to order.
I think maybe Kathy was looking at our whole group when she said turkeys.
She didn't mean us.
Yeah.
We've heard a number of turkeys today, and I have 2 more.
I assume you have a better than I acquaintance with the president's beginning.
Oh, I'm not so sure I do, but I think the point, yeah.
I'm sure there have been unpopular presidents, but has there ever been a president who is vilified birthright?
Well,
I like the shape of these.
Yes.
We're gonna do the beauty of that poem
This broke the
first.
computer.
The beauty of that poem.
That's pretty.
Other works of art are said to be beautiful. In poetry,
you said other.
Often.
often, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm doing other things.
Rewriting.
Often, works of art are said to be beautiful. And poetry, too, is said to be an art, and at times it, too, is said to be beautiful. Is this poem beautiful? Look how it's placed on the page. Lots of white space, but only a little black type taking the form of an hourglass figure and filled with sands that are gray and black, while the poem's emotion seems a lonesome blue. Or is it beautiful as a glorious fan that has been opened to full span? Classically decorated in brown and gold and purple, with light flashing through its folds, which emphasize form and construction, reducing to a slender handle peg. Or as a jewel cut in a diamond shape, sharp edges, neat. Or is it beautiful with its special words, words that flutter over images and glitter like condensation streaming on frosted beers, or regal velvet drapes and crystal chandeliers, or fireworks flashing over an ebony sky, or sparkling sunlight upon a field of daffodils? Or is it beautiful because it speaks of rest and peace?
Very creative.
What
Very
fun.
creative.
What fun.
In the third line, you read, is said to be an art.
Oh, it's said to be art. Okay.
Okay.
Art, yeah.
I'm not reading very well.
I love the shapes, they're great.
I don't know what got me going, but I heard somebody, some recording maybe of JFK or somebody like that who was talking about some festival of arts or something, and poetry too is beautiful. And I said, it's poetry beautiful. How is it beautiful? So, anyway.
Very, very creative.
Anyway. That stands as it is, I guess. We could do many more shapes. On the other side,
I think Kathy writes beautiful.
yes, I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think of Kathy as
They're
writing.
beautiful.
I've already had that thought. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it has to do with sentiment in
Yeah,
images and
sensibility.
so on. Yeah.
Agreed.
So on the other side, to commemorate our visit here, we have this colossally failed effort called Caves at the Hocking. Imagine we are just here some 2,000 years ago. The campfires have burnt low, and off in the dark, fireflies glow. The ceremonial circle has been prepared for the new moon's arrival, and a new layer of soil reinforces the earth monuments for a longer survival. The caves have been cleaned and the moisture dried. Children have been comforted, though the sick ones still cried. Seasonal food stores have been placed in the cave walls' deep cuts. There were service berries, dewberries, grapes, and chestnuts. Now imagine we are here some 2,000 years hence. Fine spun plastic heat-repelling billows serve as living tents. A tower of colored meteor rock topped with a radiating symbol, reduced atmospheric heat, and the earthquake's constant tremble. The dried caves and carved traces of waterfalls now serve as history. Developments in materials foretell future mystery. The legends of machines now are but a prompt for jokes, and tales of jewels and chants are a charm for the aged folks. The caves remind of work in the close-to-earth days. 4 millennia later, it's all done using telemental ways. Digging by hand and travel on foot is replaced by imaging products and teletravel, all thought energy based.
Very interesting.
When did you get into that sci-fi kick anyway?
Yeah, well, what happened is that I wanted to do the 2,000 years hence, but I never really thought it through. And so I just patched in a few things and I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Anyway, I wanted to honor our visit to Hockhocking and look back as we always do to the Indians and the mountains and the caves and their history and so on. But let's look forward as well and see what we can see. 2,000 years hence seems a long, long way away, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Yeah,
You're optimistic.
we may not get
We'll
there.
still be here.